went over all that with the patchouli thing. When you guys are cutting fruit,
that's what I was gonna say,
if you have two or more halves,
yep,
that have internal rot, we're supposed to just get rid of the whole bin.
Oh yeah, the whole bin.
Yep.
Okay.
We're not supposed to even dump it. When I come and stand by you,
have you guys found a bin so far with internal rot?
What's that?
Have you guys even found a bin within the last 2
You
years?
know, I haven't found one in the last couple of years.
I see them on the line, but that's because I see when you're on the line.
Typically, Honeycrisp are your apples that you're going to have the worst issue with internal rot. That's just because of the makeup of the apple. They're real susceptible to internal rot.
I know.
And
it's such a high sugar content.
I'm just wondering, has anybody ever actually seen it, or like what? Because I don't think
I mean, we have on the line.
I have seen it over
when
there.
you're actually on the inspection table, you see it, but
not a lot.
Yeah,
not a
looking
lot. You know, when
you have to cut the apple open to check
you
it.
have to cut the apple.
Or the
thing is
the weed reads it by the inside.
Yep.
A lot of times, to see internal rot, there'll be a crack on the top of the stem, a small crack, and then as soon as you bust it open, that whole inside of the core is rotten. Is how I see it on the line.
Oh,
I never heard of that.
I didn't know that.
That's new.
Was just like
what's that?
So that he just said the core of the apple with the stem. I never heard of that
by
before.
The stem, and then you cut it open and half the inside's
there's 80 bajillion of those.
Yep, and that's why you have to be careful. And when you start seeing them coming through, you have to bust them out and bust them
I
open
think
to
that's
see
like
are these cracks
apples we had.
causing
I
rot,
think
or is
that's
it just
the makeup of that apple.
Crack?
You know, because it's a hybrid apple, and it may be some residue from spray,
but then,
because they spray a lot of, like.
So if we see a bin with that, we're not supposed to dump it.
Nope.
No. If you have two or more apples.
See a bin?
I gotta.
Well, he'll chop them up. He'll take 20 apples out and check
it. You can see
it
through the top of the apple if there's
supposedly
rot or not.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it internal rot like that before. Only by cutting them open, I've seen it. I've never seen it by looking at an apple from the outside.
So what we're saying is, when you cut those 20 apples, if you
told me that
find
you
more
can,
than two halves with internal rot.
Yeah, but you don't have to cut them. You can just look at the top.
No, you got to cut them.
Yeah, you got to cut them.
So he's just talking about in general.
Look at the top and see if there's rot in one of the fucking tops of the thing. Then that's internal rot.
No.
The only way that you can personally tell.
On the outside.
We're talking about down to the core.
The only way as a person to tell
is how
if there's a crack on the top, then
So
you have
you
to
can
cut
see that.
it open.
You can see
then
that.
you have to cut it open to check if there's actually internal rot, because that can
So
just
you
be a
haven't
crack
seen
and
internal
not
rot yet, then? You have seen.
I have
the rot
seen
on the
internal
top.
rot.
You have seen the rot on the top.
Whatever,
We're not
Evan.
gonna
I'm
argue
not
about
gonna
this,
fucking
okay?
talk
We're
about
cutting 20 apples per bin.
Christ.
Yeah.
If we have internal rot in the middle of the apple, on more than two halves,
I gotcha.
throw it away.
And the
or
only way
come
that
and
you
get
can
me.
see that, correct, is if you cut it open.
Yep, you're right, Ev.
Right.
That's the only way.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. The only way that you can tell that the inside of the thing is rotted is that way. Gotcha.
Now, just for your
If you cut it open.
Every time.
the
Yeah,
next
every
one says
time.
100 apples.
That's what That's what it fucking says, dude. That's why it
When I
says to
come and
cut
stand
them.
by you,
I know, and
That's
like
what
I
I'm
said,
doing.
if you see a crack on the
And I
top
do
and you
that
cut
probably-
it, that's
I'm
the only way
supposed
you
to
can
do it
tell
3 times during the
personally
day.
as a
and I'm
human
supposed
being
to watch.
if there's internal
Then
rot.
you
If there's
haven't
a
seen
crack
that.
on the
I'm
top,
supposed
that's
to
the
watch
only
100
way that you can
apples
tell
go
as a
by.
person.
Usually
Otherwise, you
how
have
I
to cut
do
it open.
that is each one of those
And you haven't seen it.
sections.
That's why I asked if we've seen
You
it
know
over
where
the last 3 years.
fins are
'Cause
that-
we haven't dumped the bin because of
There's
internal
usually
rot.
about 10 apples in it. So when that goes by 10
Not that I
times,
know, not yet.
No, we have
That's
not
pretty
dumped the
much-
bin
so
with
that's what
internal
I'm
rot over
watching
the last
for.
3 years.
And if I see that you miss one, that's what you'll notice.
And a lot of the
How
reason
would you
why,
fucking know?
a lot of the reason
Because I
why,
just
If it's
asked,
more
and
than
nobody
one,
here
then I
has
just gotta
dumped one.
retrain you.
a lot of reason why too is
Sometimes I'll
because when they run the WYATT checks for them, and that's why like we had that like one bin at the beginning that kicks out apples. That's why that WYATT is there. Yeah, but it'll be on the opposite side though, right next to the cider bin. There's like a cider bin, and then there's shitty bin that goes away,
You
and
need
that's
a
where.
giant machine to check.
Yep,
and see
and
on
because
the
that
inside
reads it
of
from the inside,
yeah.
takes all the pictures of it, like radar,
Exactly.
fucking what
Exactly.
infrared
That makes
pictures.
sense.
Takes like 30 pictures of each apple or some crazy shit, right? Just
Yep, totally.
that thing's awesome. But yeah, that's why we haven't had a lot of internal rot for the last few years. And they have like when Haley was working here doing the CT, the fucking what is that what it's called, or QC? QC. Yeah, she's cutting them open, checking them out before they even put bins on the line. She was checking them, making sure there was nothing good.
Or whatever she
I don't know how many she had, but
she would check, and then a lot of what they do over there too, the QC person, is they add a chemical to the apples and see how the sugar. They're testing for sugar because as the apple matures or gets riper, the sugar content always gets more. So they're always checking them for how sweet they are and stuff. Like I know last year they were having a big issue with pizzazz because that's a late apple.
Yep.
You don't pick those until end of October, even some. You know, they're late. They're way late.
So
And
this year
they
we
were
went.
they were having trouble with those apples getting to taste sweet enough. They weren't liking how
okay.
they were tasting, so they were putting them in storage and trying to make them. It's
Trying to age
there's a
them, huh?
lot of stuff that they do with apples for packing them. It's just,
So are we more susceptible this year probably to internal rot from Ludlow Honeycrisp since it's not getting ran down a pack line with the WYATT on it? Because they don't have one in Elgin, do they?
Yeah, they
no,
do.
no,
What?
they
Like
don't.
this.
They
Not
don't,
one that
but I
infrareds
don't
and
know
shit.
that it'll be. I think that the internal rot thing is more of what happens out in the orchard.
Oh, okay.
So if you have an issue where maybe you got too much rain too fast, and some of the skin splits because the apple grows too fast.
Yep.
That's going to make it way more susceptible to
Susceptible to it.
internal rot. Or
So
like
they're
Evan's talking, if
cracking
it splits on the top,
Like
Were
who's
they
talking?
That was me, just to let you know, because that was what this argument was about.
Yeah,
When it
and
splits
the
on the
argument
top-
was about we haven't dumped a bin for what you call it, how many years for having internal rot. So that means all of those that you're talking about with the cracks on top of them, there's no
They
way.
didn't
There's
pick
no
one
way
of
to
those
really
20
tell.
out. You didn't get that one of those in your 20.
Yeah.
Or you only got one of them in your 20.
So what?
We still have like
So
20 more
like the
pages.
entire
left.
bin, I've seen a couple. So
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I hope. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I hope they're looking for it now.
so our next critical control point is our lab analysis for patchouli, and that's the test I send in every
That's the
day.
one you
like
do
I sent
at the end?
yesterday. So
That was good then?
we'll,
They haven't checked yet.
I'll know this
Tomorrow.
afternoon. Now, starting next week.
I mean, any
well,
apple
not
with
next
rot
week, but the week after that,
Technically,
we're going to
could
start
have internal
pressing
rot then.
bottles
Outside
that we don't have a test
freezing
back
could
on
be
until
internal
later
rot,
in the
yeah.
day. Now, we won't let it leave the
crazy.
place until
No,
we're sure
because-
about the test.
when you
Well, it's a hole on
But-
top or a hole in the bottom. Or...
Evan, let it go.
We can still bottle it, right?
he's not
We'll
going to,
bottle
this
it.
will go on for
We'll-
hours.
we'll
Yeah,
bottle
because
it.
you're dumb.
We will bottle it, but we won't let it leave the place until we have a clean test back on it. And we did that a lot last
Perfect,
year,
Ev, don't worry about
and
it.
we never had an issue with the test.
No, we.
But that's because of our
Even
wet
with all the
inspect.
internal rot that we
Right.
could
That's 'cause
possibly
of our
have
wet
had.
inspect.
That's because the whole crew. What do you mean? Not just the wet inspect.
It is because of the whole crew. Yeah, people that are dumping make a big difference
Right.
because they're taking.
Well,
a
even
lot
these
of
guys in
bad
here.
apples.
Psh,
I don't do shit. I just throw it in the fucking bag and
you
hope it
put
looks
rice
good.
in, right?
Barely.
All right then.